if you need to write the formula for an ionic compound, crisscrossing the cation and the anion will give you the neutral formula. Now, if you need to name it, and we've been talking already a little bit about naming, you name it from left to right like you write it. You always write the cation and then the anion. I think always. Well, I think there are a few exceptions. But you give it a first name and you give it a last name. So, not that complicated. I want to kind of focus on the first name, the name of the cation. There were certain metals that only form one different type of cation. Those are the 1A metals form a +1, 2A form a +2, 3A metals form a +3. Now for those, it's the simplest. The first name is simply the name of the metal. It's wonderful. So 1A, 2A, and 3A, you can hang your hat on forming a +1, a +2, and a +3 charge. They're actually, and I call them kind of embedded, there are actually 3 transition metals: silver, cadmium, and zinc. And if you have a periodic table handy, I would find silver, cadmium, and zinc on the periodic table. They are actually transition metals, and they only form one cationic form also. So silver is always an Ag+, and the other two are +2. So cadmium's always a +2, and zinc is always a +2. And for those, you do not need to, those you just say the name of, okay? So those, life is easy for those. Now life is a little more interesting for the metals that can form more than one cation. So if I pick on iron, remember we looked at iron forming a +2, Fe +2, and we looked at iron forming a +3. Now either one of these could be, these are unique. For instance, if you crisscross, you're going to need different numbers of anions, okay, because of this charge. So I am going to go with, if this is your cation, we're going to go with the stock system, where you're going to do the name of the metal, the cation, iron, and you're going to do in parentheses, you're going to do Roman numerals as to the charge. So that's an iron 2 cation, and this is an iron 3 cation, okay, just from the charge. So that's going to have to be its first name. So on your, I haven't mentioned this yet, but actually on your Unit 3 exam, about 1/5 to 1/4 of your test, the points on your Unit 3 test are going to come from ionic compounds and how do you write the formula and how do you name the compound. We're going to cover this in lab too, but I just want you to make sure you get this right. So ionic compounds, how do you write the formula, how do you name them? Well, how you name them, the metal makes a little bit tricky. So in order to get full credit, you have to use Roman numerals. Remember, I used Roman numerals for iron, that metal, but I didn't use Roman numerals for the metal sodium because that's a 1A metal. So in other words, to summarize, you do not use Roman numerals when it's a 1A, 2A, or 3A, because you can hang your hat on that, and you can also hang your hat on these kind of sleepers, these embedded 3 transition metals. You always have to use Roman numerals for everything else. Even if you're like, well, I think there's only one cationic form. Nope, you still got to use Roman numerals. So the next couple of slides just kind of talk you through that. So for instance, and to me, you cannot answer these unless you've memorized the periodic table, which I totally have not. You can't answer these unless you have a periodic table handy. So calcium, do you use Roman numerals? If that's your cation in the first name of that compound. No, the first name will just be calcium because it's a 2A metal. Potassium, 1A metal. Do you use Roman numerals? No. Barium, find it on the periodic table. Do you use Roman numerals? No, because it's a 2A metal. How about lead? Do you use Roman numerals? Yes, you use Roman numerals. I don't have a periodic table in front of me, but it's not a 1A, it's not a 2A, and it's not a 3A metal, nor is it silver, zinc, or cadmium. So yes, you have to use Roman numerals. What are the Roman numerals? Well, the Roman numerals are the charge. Okay. Okay. How about lead 4? Also, you'd have to use Roman numerals. Now, if you're not up on Roman numerals, you might want to kind of remind yourself. This is Roman numeral 2. This is Roman numeral 4, where actually V is 5, and if you put the number before it, it's like minus that. So this is Roman numeral 4. How about sodium? Do we use Roman numerals? Find on the periodic table. No, because it's a 1A metal. Like sodium chloride, it's not sodium 1 chloride, it's simply sodium chloride. How about aluminum? Aluminum's 3A, so no Roman numerals. How about cadmium? That's one of the special ones. We do not use Roman numerals for cadmium. Zinc, cadmium, or silver. Magnesium, group 2A, no Roman numerals. Okay, and I'm not sure why this one got on there. NH4 is ammonium, which I don't understand why you totally wouldn't use Roman numerals for that. Okay, so how about the first two, iron? Do we use Roman numerals? Well, yes. And it kind of makes sense to me that the Roman numerals are there to tell you what charge it is, what cationic form, what charge it is. How about zinc? Do we use Roman numerals? Find it on the periodic table. It's a transition element, but actually I like it because zinc, cadmium, and silver are all kind of make a kind of like a backward L. So zinc, no Roman numerals. How about the next two? Copper with a +2, copper with +1. Yeah, heck yeah. So you'd have to use copper in parentheses Roman numeral 2, copper in parentheses Roman numeral 1. Okay, how about the next two? And the fact that there are two kind of give it away, because the fact there are two, you have to use Roman numerals to say which one you have. So that's what we call the nickel 2 cation and the nickel 3 cation. How about silver? Well, if you find it on the periodic table, it is a transition metal, but it's one of the 3 special transition metals. So no, it's always a +1, no Roman numerals. Just silver. These next two, well, the next one, Hg stands for what element? Hg stands for mercury. Actually, if you find it on the periodic table, it's not 1A, 2A, 3A, nor is it silver, zinc, or cadmium. So you know you got to use Roman numerals. So here we go. Mercury 2. Now, this last one kind of snuck in there on me. This actually is what we call a polyatomic ion. I'm just going to tell you for now that last one is the mercury 1 polyatomic cation. But I'm hoping you're okay with when you use Roman numerals and when you don't in the first name of the compound.